I'll bet nobody saw this coming. Davis retains the championship because of referee Steve Willis. Nobody could have seen that coming.
Can't speak on that?
Can't speak on it.
He did some shit though?
I can't speak on it.
No personal opinion, nothing?
Can't. Especially.
That show you right there, he got power.
Cash cow.
That's what I'm saying. He put in the seats, man.
And a leaked audio recording allegedly reveals that Gervonta Tank Davis and referee Steve Willis conspired to manipulate the outcome of Davis's fight against Lamont Roach, Jr. The controversy intensified after the recording appeared to show Willis beginning a count, an indication he acknowledged a knockdown, before abruptly stopping. This revelation has sparked outrage among fans and analysts, prompting widespread calls for an immediate investigation into the bout's integrity. Veteran referee Jack Rice also weighed in on the matter, noting the flexible nature of boxing's rules. He emphasized that the referee has ultimate authority.
Against Formoso Hernandez, when he lands the punch and turns his back and takes a knee, he gets counted. You think of Miguel Cotto against Antonio Margarito, where, it was under duress and he just took that knee. And, of course, my compadre right here, Chris Algieri against Ruslan Provodnikov as well. It wasn't a particular shot. You feel something, you feel discomfort, you take a knee. All those times, there's a count, dude. And I'll tell you what, Steve Willis also knew there was a count because he started counting and then stopped.
Yeah, we'll get to it. There's more than one pillar of this defense for Lamont Roach Jr., but the first one's a knockdown, Chris.
Yeah, I mean, we have a ton of experts on the panel today. I'm going to speak from a fighter standpoint, just like you did, champ. And you can argue whether that right hand landed clean or if it landed hard or how hard those jabs were. It doesn't matter. Champ, when you mentioned when I took that knee against Ruslan Provodnikov, I actually didn't get hit. I was still recovering from the last knockdown when my orbital was damaged. My eye was damaged. My vision was impaired. I gave ground so I would keep my opponent off me, and I still couldn't see. So I took a knee, understanding very well that as soon as I took that knee, I was going to get a count. Yeah. And I had 8 to 9 seconds to get up, and I had more time to get my vision back, which it did, thank God.
And Mayweather didn't get hit either. He threw the punch.
Yeah, he actually landed left on Hermoso, Hernandez.
So, this is standard procedure here, guys.
Yeah, and we got to see, the question I have to ask, I got to start with Jack Reese. Is there something we are, as fans, aren't seeing about this knockdown that changes it? Because me, as a fan, I saw a knockdown in round number 9. What's your thought?
In the ring, with full discretion to decide knockdowns and stoppages. His remarks have added another layer to the growing debate surrounding the leaked audio scandal involving Davis and Roach. Heart of the controversy centers around the 9th round when Davis took a knee. Many argue that
Gervonta Tank Davis, GTD, and I don't mean got the draws, went up against Lamont Roach. Let me tell you something. Tank got spanked. Roach should have won. And Tank even dropped to his knee. It should have been called a knockdown. But they let it slide. They said, you know what? He said he had grease in his eye from his braids. But it still should have been counted as a knockdown. Because since it was a unanimous draw, that knockdown would have gave Roach the win.
This should have been ruled a knockdown, an official call that could have dramatically altered the judges' scorecards. The referee's failure to acknowledge the knee as a knockdown has fueled intense debate, raising serious questions about the legitimacy of the fight. Veteran trainer Bozy Ennis shared his perspective, stating that while the fight was competitive, he
beat him 2 times in the amateur, but this time, Lamont was ready, man. He was ready, he was in shape. He took Tank punches, you know what I mean? And they was going back and forth, you know what I mean? And I thought it was a real close fight, but I thought Lamont edged it.
Okay. Were you surprised that Lamont backed Tank up and was winning in exchanges? Because Tank is looked at as probably the biggest puncher in boxing.
Yeah, I wasn't surprised because, like I said, when he came out the first time, he came out using his jab and like he was backing him up. But Tank fight that way a lot anyway. He fight like that anyway. He'll move around. You can back him up all you want. And, Tank set them traps, man. He set them traps. So, the traps that he was trying to set, Wichita was prepared for the trap. You know what I mean? He was prepared for the trap because he would counter and Lamont would counter right back. You know what I mean? So it was a great fight, man. Can't take nothing away from neither one of them.
Now, as far as the knee goes, You've been in boxing for over 40 years.
Over 40.
Yeah. Have you ever seen anything like that? A guy takes a knee?
No. Now that's something I didn't expect him to do. You know what I mean? You know, he took the knee. You know what I mean? And then ran to the corner and got his eyes wiped out. They never allowed that. They would have started counting. You know what I mean? I see that he started counting, then he stopped. You know what I mean? But you got to understand, you know, Tank got a lot of power. That show you right there, he got power.
Cash cow.
That's what I'm saying. He put asses in the seats, man.
Somebody said him getting his face wiped off, him sticking his head through the ropes and getting his face wiped off was supposed to be a disqualification. Is that a rule?
That's what they say. That's what I heard.
Believed Roach held a slight edge. With over 4 decades of experience in boxing, Ennis remarked that he had never seen a situation where a fighter took a knee without it being ruled a knockdown. He also acknowledged Davis's powerful punching ability, adding that incidents like, "This must be carefully reviewed and evaluated." Former unified lightweight champion George Kambosos Jr.
See, Lamont started giving him some work, and he looked good, man. I got to give respect to Lamont Roach. He proved a lot of guys wrong. I think he shocked Tank a lot with what he was able to bring. And again, we saw the controversy with the knee. To me, that's a knockdown. You can't just take a knee and decide to, go to your corner and get your face wiped. So, if that's a 10-8 round, Lamont wins the fight. So it's unfortunate, but that's the fight game. Hopefully they'll do it again and he gets paid, what he's worth.
Have you ever seen anything like that in boxing before? A guy sort of just voluntarily.
We've seen Floyd take a knee and be put on the count. We've seen Miguel Cotto, take a knee, obviously into his corner, be put on the count. If we're allowed to start taking knees and run to our corners, well, I'm gonna start doing it too. If I as soon as I feel something, everyone will start to do it. But it's just not right. You're a warrior. Doesn't matter if there's grease in your eye, a bit of gel in your eye, or whatever excuse you want to use. I've been through wars where there's blood pouring in my eyes. In the Lomachenko fight, blood was pouring. I'm wiping it away. We've seen it with other fighters. So we don't get opportunities just to take a knee, go to our corner, wipe us up, and might as well have a coffee and have a laugh and then get back to action. It doesn't work that way.
Saw a bit of back and forth between you and Hitchens on Twitter, you and Gervonta as well. Where does that sort of animosity come from?
They just love mentioning Kambosos. They love the name, and like I said, when we're getting called out and spoken about by the world level guys, the champions, they're all champions, world champions. It shows how big our name is, and like it or not, we still have one of the biggest names in this game. Love me or hate me, you have to respect what I've been able to do, the guys I've been able to fight, and still, headlining big shows and still in line for more title fights and opportunities to become 2-division champions. So,
Jr. also voiced his concerns over the incident. He emphasized that in boxing, a fighter taking a knee should unquestionably be ruled a knockdown. Kambosos highlighted the hard work and dedication Lamont Roach put into his training camp, suggesting that moments like this not only compromise the integrity of the sport, but also disrespect the effort athletes pour into their craft.
And should it have been a disqualification?
Look, it could have easily been a disqualification too, or a referee stops contest, because look, there's no way a fighter could take a timeout and go get his, during the round. There's no way a fighter could say, okay, timeout, because he took a knee like a timeout kind of thing, and walk to his corner to wipe his face. That's fucking unheard of and never seen before. There's no way that's legal in boxing. It shouldn't have. When a fighter, we just seen it recently with Espinosa and Rubesis. Rubesis got hit with the right hand, and then he walks back and walks away, and the red right away wiped it up.
That happened with Lara versus Angulo.
Exactly. It's over. It's over. So Tank doing that, took a knee. It should have right away. The ref should have started, counting as a knockdown. But he still walks away to his corner. I'm actually, surprised that the ref didn't call it a knockdown, because he's a really good ref.
Willis is a really good ref.
Willis is a great ref, one of the best in boxing right now, and that was a big mistake. He should have counted as a knockdown. Like I told you, I wouldn't have been surprised if when he walked away, if he would have just waved it up, because that's walking away from the fight. because of the eyes. Well, okay, well, during the break, tell the corners to wipe it out. You can't do that when the fight's going on. There's no way, nothing. You can't do that when the fight's going on. You can't time out, take a knee, and walk away. There's just no way. You know, but it is boxing, and a lot of things happen in boxing.
Renowned trainer Robert Garcia also weighed in on the controversy, asserting that a referee should immediately stop the action if a fighter takes a knee, without a legitimate reason, such as a low blow. Garcia emphasized that boxing rules do not allow fighters...
People want to discredit Tank, he's still a pound-for-pound fighter.
Yeah. What do you think about that fight that happened? You thought it was just an off night, or...?
Everybody has an off night. Everybody has an off night. Shit, I had a off night with Cruz. Everyone has a off night. It's boxing.
You want to run that back with Cruz, or what?
Maybe down the line.
...to call timeouts during a round. He expressed surprise at Steve Willis's decision, noting that Willis is typically seen as a capable and experienced referee, and that this kind of oversight was unexpected from someone of his caliber.
I feel like when my back is against the wall or against the ropes, it's like, it's time to show up. So it wasn't really hard for me to focus because all I had to do was do what I normally do. And I know that that was going to surprise or shock or shut everybody up.
Lightweight. Contender Rolando Raleigh Romero offered a more empathetic take on the situation, acknowledging that every fighter can have an off night. He suggested that Davis's performance may not have reflected his usual standards, implying that external factors could have played a role in the outcome.
That Gervonta Davis made from previous times that he had been fighting. He made a change in trainers, but he also made a change in the location in which he was training. He went and had Barry Hunter from DC, from a gym called Headbangers in DC as his head trainer, while Calvin Ford and Kenny Smith took a backup role. Gervonta Davis also worked out in Washington, D.C. Now, as you know, Gervonta Davis and Lamont Roach fought each other in the amateurs. Their teams know each other. The people know each other. They all know each other in the same circle. What was told to me was that Lamont Roach's team knew pretty much what Gervonta Davis was going to do and what his approach was going to be to the fight because they knew what Gervonta Davis was working on in camp. That because he was in that same area and it was the DC area and Lamont Roach was a DC fighter and Gervonta Davis considered DC his second home, but it's not his second home. There's a big rivalry between DC and Baltimore.
Lamont. Roach Jr. addressed the controversy by highlighting his ability to stay focused throughout the fight. He stated that external distractions didn't shake his concentration or derail his game plan, underscoring his mental toughness and thorough preparation going into the bout. Reports reveal that Davis made significant changes to his training camp.
Did Gervonta Davis take a knee, and should he have been deducted a point and in the end lost that fight to Roach, in your opinion?
Yeah, in my opinion, if it was a draw, he take a knee. And plus the corner go up and put it a towel in the face, that's a disqualification for sure. I'm talking about the rules, but it's not my business.
For this fight, notably choosing to train in Washington, D.C. without his longtime coach, Calvin Ford. This shift may have given Roach's team valuable insight into Davis's preparation, potentially influencing their strategy and the overall dynamics of the fight.
One thing that's kind of baffling is that it wasn't a knockdown. I mean, look, he wasn't hurt. There's no doubt about that, but if you take a knee in the fight and you touch down, whilst punches are being thrown, it has to be a knockdown. I've heard some people saying, oh, that he should be disqualified. He went back to the corner. I don't buy that, to be honest with you. I mean, I think that's a warning, but it's a bit of a bizarre situation for me. Like, there was a lot of people in boxing that were saying that this is a really tough fight. Like, Lamont Roach is a serious fighter. I said it might not be the biggest profile fight, but it's actually quite a tough fight. And Shakur said to me, like, even the day before, I'm telling you, he's going to have big trouble tomorrow night. And I just feel like hopefully this could be the little something that gives Gervonta a little wake-up call to take him back to the mindset of maybe where he was.
Boxing superstar Canelo Alvarez didn't hold back when speaking about the outcome of the fight. He stated that Davis should have been disqualified following the incident where his corner entered the ring without the referee's permission, an act that...
All right, let's go back to fight night, y'all. Gervonta versus Lamont, man. DC versus Baltimore, man. As y'all might know, I'm going to give y'all a little history. Baltimore Raiders ain't a part of the DMV. We don't really claim them. They a part of, it's two different worlds. So it's always been competition in the city between Baltimore, DC, and the real Maryland, which is like Upper Marlboro, Capitol Heights, and all that. So this is really a fight for the city, if y'all ain't know. So, but people didn't really know about Lamont. But what I'm saying is that it was a draw. I figured it would be that way because Gervonta the champ. And I feel like Lamont did win, though. The combos was like 3-1. He was landing 3 combos, and then Gervonta was landing 1. Every one he threw 3 to 4 combos after that. So I felt like he won, but both, at the end of the day, both fighters put up a good fight, and they put on for the city, for real.
Clearly violates boxing regulations. Alvarez's stance highlights the importance of strictly following the rules to preserve the integrity of the sport. Promoter Eddie Hearn offered a contrasting viewpoint, asserting that for an action to be officially ruled a knockdown, the fighter must...
And honestly backed up Gervonta Davis a lot. Ultimately, I don't think the draw is the worst decision in the world. I think, obviously Lamont overperformed here, or at least the look is that he overperformed. But I'll tell you where robbery can come into play. 2 scorecards were even. There's a knockdown not given to Lamont Roach. Gervonta took a knee on his own. Let's remember when Mayweather did this against Carlos Famoso Hernandez years ago when his hand hurt, the referee counted him. So that was counted as a knockdown. Steve Willis is supposed to count that as a knockdown. And if Steve Willis counts that as a knockdown, Lamont wins by 1 point on 2 scorecards. And that knee that Gervonta Davis took ends up becoming the difference on the scorecards. I don't think a draw is the worst result in the world. I will say this.
Be struck by a punch and then touch the canvas as a direct result. He pointed out that Davis didn't appear visibly hurt by Roach's punch and showed no signs of distress, suggesting that the referee's decision not to call a knockdown may have been justified.
The fact that so many of you are arguing that Gervonta Davis did is not a knockdown compared to what Lamont Roach did right here, he's getting pushed down. What do y'all mean? There are so many times in a fight where fighters are forced down to take a knee. It's a veteran move. Let me put this into perspective for you guys that really don't understand this. Think about it. Every single time a fighter wanted a break because his opponent was walking him down, he had no answer. He was getting touched up more than he liked to. All he had to do was take a knee. And it's not a knockdown and a point taken. If every time you wanted to fix your eye or wipe the sweat off or, hey, my glove is loose, I just got to take a knee. Imagine the amount of people that would be doing. Imagine how bad fights would look with that. That's a cop-out. That should have been 100% ruled a knockdown. I'm a Tank Davis fan. I think Tank won the fight. I think he won 115, 113. I thought he pulled off the dub. But had that been scored a knockdown, we don't know what. I don't know.